Hey everybody, we're here for episode 9 of Feral but Sober. I have a really exciting guest today. I'm super excited. We have a little bit untraditional interview. She is busy actually, and she's taking time out of her very busy schedule to to do our interview with us, and so I really appreciate that. But you're not gonna be able to see her. She's going to be She's going to be audio only. I'm going to give her a call right now. You will be able to see me the whole time, but we won't be able to see her at all.
Hello?
Hi, Kim. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you
All
hear me?
right. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for doing this. I was just telling everybody that you are busy today. That's why you're not actually going to be on camera, but you're taking time out of your busy schedule to do this for us, and I really appreciate that. So,
well, I appreciate you asking me.
Yeah. So I've really not even started at all yet. So Kim has a story, a very unique, very inspirational story happened to her, and now wonderful things come from that. So I'll go ahead and let her tell her story a little bit, and then we'll take any questions if we have any, and talk a little bit about it from there. Hold on one second. I have a little.
With every day I spiral out of control. Way I start to slide with every day.
Pathways. She's in recovery herself, and she'll tell a little bit about all of her story right now. So Kim, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Like Leanna said, my name is Kim Moore, and I am a case manager, mental health and addictions at Pathways in Moorhead, and have been for 10 years. My son's foundation, the Jake Bowman New Start Foundation, came into being due to we lost my son Jake to a fentanyl poisoning overdose 2 years ago. And my family's lived in Round County here for, all of our lives. For a short period, my mom and dad moved to Ohio and went to work, but came back home. And so, we're pretty well-known family here in Round County. And my son Jake had just started the dream job that he'd always wanted. He was going to be able to travel. He had quite a bit of clean time in, actually. Easter weekend 2 years ago, he spent the weekend in Galveston, Texas with his boss's family. I don't know at that point why he decided when he came home to come back to Moorhead, other than one of his friends. We have evidence that.
Kim, are you there?
Can you hear
Kim,
me?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but you're back now.
Yeah, I kind of have bad service up here.
It's okay. Look, I struggle with technical issues all the time. I cut out in the middle of an interview a couple weeks ago, so no big deal.
You're right. So, anyways, I was saying he was living in Mount Sterling at the time, and came home to Moorhead. One of his friends was messaging him, and wanting him to get a hold of some heroin, and I guess temptation got to be a little much for him. And one of the last messages that my brother-in-law, who happens to be the sheriff here in town, found on the boy's iPad was Jake saying, "This is going to be the last time. We're going to get back to being the people that we're meant to be." And at 2:30 that morning, I heard the scanner go off. My husband's part of the emergency management team here in town, and I heard him call out for a 33-year-old male overdose in Clearfield. Didn't have a clue that my son was even back in the state of Kentucky. And first thing I thought was, as I always do, is, that's not, that's not good. So I couldn't really go back to sleep. So I laid awake there and listened, and about 15 minutes later, they toned out again and said they were on their way to St. Clair, Signal 9. So at that point, my next thought was, somebody's mother's going to get a phone call. So I got up, and I was just doing my normal routine, checking Facebook, checking my bank account, different things. And I get a phone call from that young man. And he said, "Are you Jake's mother?" And I said, "I am." And he said, "I hate to be the one to tell you, but they left here on their way to the hospital with him." And I said, "I appreciate the call." And so I immediately called my sister, and I said, was that call for Jake? And she said, "Yeah, that Matt was on his way to tell us." And, of course I said, "Well, we'll just meet him at the hospital." So that's how I found out that my son had passed away from a fentanyl overdose.
So at that point, when they called you, did you know that he did it say on the scanner? I'm sorry, it might have been when you cut out. Did they say that he passed away? Like, at this point, when you were going to the hospital, did you know that he had already passed away, or did you still?
Yeah, when they toned out the second time, they toned out as Signal 9. And normally, when they say Signal 9, it's it's very critical, or probably had already passed. But I did know when I called my sister, because she said my brother-in-law was coming to tell me. So I knew at that point that it was that it was fatal. So we just met him at the hospital, and went through all the things that I went through 25 years ago prior to this, when I lost my daughter in a car wreck. But I can remember going back, and of course we were allowed to, I was allowed to go back and sit with Jake, and I kind of feel like that I went through 5 stages of grief a little out of order, because I was pissed. I can remember sitting there with him saying, "Jake, what the hell? Why did you do this? You did not have to do this. You had all the coping skills. You had all the tools. You had a sponsor. You had, and I was just mad. I was so mad at him. Right. And then, then I guess my grief set in, and I knew from doing this first time that, I knew what I had to do to get through, the next few days. But he had, on his new job, he had about 6 days having his life insurance kick in. And so, we as parents, a lot of times are, we're left to, pay these final expenses for our kids. And so within the next day or so, people in our community, they were already reaching out. They were already organizing fundraisers. They were already sending me money. They were, it was an outpouring of this community like none I'd seen in a long time. And with that being said, my son's funeral was paid for 100%. So after a few weeks, I knew that I had to, I felt like that I wanted to do something, not only to uplift him, because he was a great kid, even in his worst and his active addiction, doing the things that normal addicts do, when they're actively using, he still had the biggest heart ever. There was almost 500 people that came through the night of his visitation, and that was such a testament to the person that he was. And so I knew at that point that I wanted to do something to give back to the community. Addiction and recovery has always held a special place in my heart. Like you said, I'm in recovery. I kind of really don't know how to describe myself. My drug of choice was alcohol mainly. I've had a few AIs. I've had a DUI. I would binge drink. I couldn't go in and sit down and have a beer with a meal, because it just wasn't quick enough. I'd have a beer, and then I'd have another beer, then the next thing you know, I'm shooting shots of Jägermeister, chasing it with beer. And I didn't go into formal treatment. I think I just got tired. I think I just got old and tired, being sick and tired, as they say.
Right.
And So then I threw myself into launching this foundation. And what we do is and we're not grant funded or anything like that. We strictly get out and we do fundraisers and beg people for money and take all the donations that we can. But we do things like people that are incarcerated. We have hygiene bags for them to come out if they're going home or going into sober living. We have helped pay for a couple weeks worth of rent in sober living because they only have 2 weeks to find a job. They're supposed to actually find a job right off the bat and then their first paycheck, but that doesn't always happen. So we do that. We do Thanksgiving and Christmas food boxes for the sober living houses here in town. We just recently this week bought a pair of non-slip work shoes for a little girl that's in recovery, that's in a sober living house that got a job. Next week we're going to pay a DUI assessment fee for a lady that got a DUI that's needs to get her assessment completed so she can get her license back so she can go back to work. Just whatever they need, whatever family needs. We've bought clothes, we've gas cards, we've bought gas cards, paid for Ubers for guys that have come out of treatment that want to go home. Just whatever a family needs or whatever the need may be for the person. We try our best to help them, and sadly, we have also, sent some checks to funeral homes, to help pay for funeral expenses. It's never a lot. We usually have to cap it off at about, $125, due to the overwhelming request that we have, and the fact that we, don't make a lot of money, but somehow God always finds a way. So. And I have my other son, which is actually the only child I have left living. He's in and out a lot right now. He's good, but he's also looking at a 10-year prison sentence for trafficking in fentanyl. But this is kind of a bogus charge, and this is one time I can honestly say that I don't feel like this kid was guilty of doing this because I was never one to hide my addiction or my kids' addictions because it was kind of pointless. You could either, look them up on Jail Tracker, or they'd be spread out on the front page of Morehead News. So, I've never tried to hide what they did. But my oldest son has never even so much as had a possession charge, never had a trafficking charge. He's had drug-related charges, but not, so. This time, I think the only thing he's guilty of is being an addict and being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So we're battling through that, and I just put my faith in the system and put my faith in God that he knows better than me. So if he's looking long term down the road and thinks that this 10-year prison sentence is might be the best thing for him, then we'll just we'll accept it and go on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. You have a really amazing story. I really love how you took something that, you said, like, you knew that you wanted to do something and you did it. Like you really do. You help people every single day. And that's really amazing. And I want to say thank you for, I know you haven't personally helped me, but I know, just for being out here and doing it and for having such a big heart and for caring. I mean, that's really amazing. So,
well, again, like I said, I appreciate you asking me, and I hope I didn't bore you or take up too much time.
No, absolutely not. So we talked a little bit about when you said that they called the Signal 9 and you just called and said you were going to be at the hospital. How did that feel in that moment? Like, I feel like maybe you were like numb or in shock because you just said like, we'll just meet him at the hospital. Like, I know you said you went through it before. So
right.
how were you feeling like right there in that? And I hate to judge this up and, and no, you can always say, that you don't want to talk about something, but.
Right. No, it's fine. And I feel like that as we as parents of addicts, we have to prepare ourselves for that phone call. If we pray that we never get it, but in the back of our minds, we know that we, at some point we might. And so I had resigned myself to the fact that it may actually happen to me again for the third time. And you're just kind of running on, you're going, got a lot of things going through your mind, like, gosh, this is what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to start, I have to go get funeral clothes. I have to start picking out pallbearers. So you kind of have to prepare yourself for it and just be ready.
Absolutely. I totally agree. My, I think we live that life, and when it, we're around so many people overdose when we're in that life and stuff, that it just becomes normalized and common. When my dad died, I can remember he died of an overdose. I was in jail, and like I cried initially, and and I was very sad, but like afterwards I was just like, okay, I was even in jail, and I was like, we have to organize this funeral and figure it out. And you just like, you have to move on.
Yeah, you do, and it's and this foundation is actually it's helped to heal my heart a lot. It's been amazing for me, and my family. For one, it not that I have to keep Jake's memory alive, because trust me, probably 10 of his closest friends went out and got tattoos in his honor. So. He's never going to be forgotten, but, I want people to know why we're doing what we do.
For sure. And I'm honored to help spread your message. Hopefully it gets to a few more people. I know I was checking out your Facebook page a little, or the foundation Facebook page a little bit before we jumped on here. And I know I've seen that you guys sell t-shirts and all kind of different things. So anybody, if you're watching, check that out. There was some really nice stuff on there.
I think we're actually going to set up an Etsy store page.
Etsy, yeah.
At some point. And just real quick, it's funny how things come to be in certain cases. So my son John's dealer at one time. She and I had a stern conversation. She was on the receiving end of it. It wasn't pleasant. But she, she's in long-term recovery now. She's still facing some charges. She's actually they're trying to give her a 10-year prison sentence. But she has since came to me, made amends. We have become fast friends. I will actually speak for her at her sentencing on the day that she goes to court in November. But she has started, her and her wife has started a brand foundation in Georgetown where they live.
What's it called? I'm sorry, my kid was screaming.
It's the same thing.
Just branched off. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Georgetown, yes.
Yeah, so that's really cool.
They're doing that down there, so they're doing good work down there too.
And who was she to you? I missed that part.
She was actually my son John, the one that my only living son. She was actually his drug dealer.
Oh.
Yeah. So I feel like when I go to court and speak on her behalf,
for sure.
Me as the mother of lost a child to addiction, if I can forgive her, then I feel like everybody else should give her the benefit of the doubt. She got married. She works at Toyota. She bought a house. They join. They go to church. I mean, she's an example of doing everything that we strive for people in addiction to do when they get into recovery.
Well, absolutely. Shout out to her. Yeah, and I think the judges nowadays, like, they really do look into that stuff. Like, if you're really doing good and you have actual proof, like that you doing what you're supposed to be doing, and like you said, she got married, she settled down. Like, I really think people. I'll say, like, I work for a company, and I don't want to say that, I don't know if I'm allowed to share it or whatever, but they do like a background check, and I am a felon, like multiple time felon. It's a bunch of drug stuff and blah blah blah. But I had certificates where I completed programs and parenting classes. I've since got married. I have 2 more children since I've had any charges, since I've been in this long-term recovery. Like, and I submitted all that, and they did hire me. So like, I think people, not only just judges, but people in general, really do look at that stuff nowadays. Like, I think it's becoming more and more accepted that we can recover, that, you know,
Absolutely.
we can make mistakes and, you know, heal from that and become productive, active members of society at, you know, at some point later on. And that's amazing that people are, you know, looking at that. And I hope that the judge in this case really does listen to what you have to say.
Right. I actually sat in a recovery summit two Fridays ago, and there's a judge that's up in the Bracken County area, you know, up in northern Kentucky, that has made a big push for hiring people that are in recovery.
Oh, awesome.
You know, I know our local judge here, our judge executive here, you know, they have programs where they have inmates come out from the county, you know, come out from jail and work for the county. They actually pay them part of their wages. They keep it in an account for them. It goes to pay fines or back child support or whatever. Probably three times since they started this program, they've actually hired them once they were released from incarceration to go on to, you know, keep full-time jobs with the county.
With the county, that's amazing, because you know that's a good job. You know what I mean? That's really cool. And even if they don't hire them on full time, just having that experience though is going to look really good if they put that on their resume or whatever. Like, that's going to be very helpful, that, you know, that the county trusted them to work, even if it was while incarcerated. You know what I mean? They still.
Absolutely.
So I'm so Oh, I'm sorry. I had a question too. You said it was a fentanyl poison. Did he just overdose, or was there something in the mixed in with it?
Well, his drug of choice was heroin,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm guessing that, you know, it was heroin laced with fentanyl.
Cut with fentanyl. Okay, I wasn't sure, because you know, you see so many cases nowadays, and that's why I wanted to touch on it. Where, you know, it's so dangerous. I am terrified to relapse, because that's one of the main things that keeps me from going back out there, is because it's nowadays you don't ever know what you're getting. Like, it, you know, you think you're getting one thing, and then, you know, like you said, you think you're getting heroin, you're getting you can hardly not find heroin at all anymore if you tried. Like, so everything's fentanyl, and that's so dangerous. And if it's
you know, it's the man-made fentanyl that's the problem.
Yep.
You know,
and it will take you out. You know, you think you could do so, you know, this X amount, and really you could, you know, you shouldn't do probably. Sure. It's so dangerous. And that, and not only just with fentanyl, but people are cutting it with all kind of stuff. Like, I know in my active addiction, I saw so many times where, you know, we would cop our dope or whatever, and it would be, you know, I don't know, you could just tell, or when you would, you know, whatever, you know, not to get too much, but like, you would mix it with water and it would do funny stuff. Like, you could always tell when it wasn't right. There's been many times, like, it's so dangerous. Like, you just never know, because the dope dealers, they don't care about you. And if you know,
they're out to make money from people dying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's and you know, and in my mind, I feel like there's two types of drug dealers. There's your local dealer that's selling just enough to support their own habit. And then there's the higher up drug dealers that are making money from people dying, and they're exploiting the street level dealers,
right?
Because they're taking advantage of their addiction as well,
right? Like, in the city, like the big drug dealers in the city,
absolutely.
Yeah, because, you know, because I will say, like, my family did, you know, during our addiction, that's kind of what they did, was sell to make their habit. And I will, you know, obviously I'm not going to say that they cared, but it's a little bit different than, like I said, because when you go and you just cop off of whoever you on the street corner, or whatever number you have in your phone or whatever, those people, they don't care about you. They pull up in a nice shiny car, you know, and stuff, and meet them at nice restaurants. And so, you know, that they don't care. They're just selling you whatever they get from whoever they get it from. And it's so much. It's so dangerous. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be out of that.
Right.
And
that's, you know, that's kind of one of the ways that we knew that Jake had some clean time in, because, you know, during the interview, you know, the guy told me, you know, we did the same thing, but he had been in active addiction all along. And, you know, so that was the difference. The clean time makes a difference.
For sure. So when his friend called you, did you know this guy, the boy that he was with?
I did not. I did not have a clue that they were even friends, to be honest with you.
Oh, and I mean, that is kind of, I mean, like, you have to kind of respect the fact that he did even call. He wasn't a coward, that was, I mean, because that had to have been terrifying. Like, I know, that it's easy to blame him, but the fact that he had to.
I don't blame. I blame the disease of addiction.
Absolutely.
I thanked him for calling me, and haven't seen or talked to him since. Well, I've seen him on Jail Tracker a couple times. I think he's been arrested a couple times, but I just continue to hope that he that he finds his way before the results the same.
Absolutely, for sure. I hate seeing people, like, my brother is still out there. My mom actually just got sent to River City. It's a treatment program in Ohio, and I could not be more thrilled. Like, I have slept better, and my brother, at the same time, my brother was also in the county. He got released now, but I was so relieved, weight off my shoulder. And I hate to say that I hate anybody to be locked up, but God knows what he's doing, and sometimes that's what we need, and that's definitely what they need, because I worry about them every day. Like, I wish that we could make them do what we want, but we can't. So
and it's hard for people to understand. I tell people the same thing. I see so many parents that their kids are they get arrested, and the first thing they do is run to the judge or run to the attorneys and say, hey, he's a good kid. Let's not give him any jail time. Let's do this or that. And, I just want to say, this is what they need. This is what you need. You need to rest your body and rest your mind, because that's the most peaceful time in my life, was when I knew my boys were where they couldn't harm themselves or anybody else.
Absolutely. It's so, jail has like a bad stigma or whatever, and they would say, like, don't lock up addicts. And I agree, like, long-term jail is not going to be a solution for, like, addiction. I get that. But sometimes we need sat down. And the jails are getting better and better about offering programs, and things like that. And if you want it, I have a story coming up about a guy who went to prison. They ended up paying for his peer support certificate, all kind of stuff. Like, if you want it, if you really want it, you can get it. Yeah, there's drugs in there too. Like, you can go whatever way you want. You can go in there and get high, or you can go in there and be clean and do something about it. Like, it really is your choice a lot of times. Like, I don't know, I haven't been in a jail in a long time, I guess, but even back when I was frequenting those facilities, they were offering many, many programs all the time, and it was coming in, churches come in, like, there's ways, if you really open up to those people, they have resources and they will help, like, 100%.
Matter of fact, one of the ladies that's kind of my ride or die with the foundation, that was her rock bottom, was when she was incarcerated. That was her rock bottom, and that's when she started climbing back out, and she has over 5 years clean time in now, and very active with AA, very active with with the foundation, but that's what it took for her. Jail doesn't work for everybody, but 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 5.
Absolutely. Jail worked for me. Like, I had been in and out of jail, I don't know how many times, and didn't care one bit. And then I had my daughter, I had my child, and then I relapsed after that. And when I went to jail after I had her, and I was so helpless and she went to my parents' house, and it was like not a good environment there. They're all addicts. And I don't know. I hated myself, and that's the feeling that I never want to go back to. Like, I talked a little bit last night about some stuff that happened. She ended up foster care, or CPS ended up getting involved right at the very end, and some crazy stuff happened. But, like, I can never do that again. Yeah, like, I'm a mom now. Like, I have people that depend on me. I can't be out here messing up, going to jail. That was what made me get on the right. That was when I knew, like, I literally really cannot do this again, because it's not fair to them. It's not about me anymore. Like, who cares what I want to do? They don't want to go, be drugged through foster homes.
It's never an addict's intention to wreak havoc on the people they love.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
and so we make ourselves easy targets a lot of times too. I used to refer to myself as a recovering enabler. Because I was the worst. I was. I mean, I knew that by allowing my kids to live under my roof and giving them access to my checkbook or my credit cards or my jewelry, that I was just loving them to death. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
So I had to draw a hard line in the sand, and
I get
like
it. I can get it, like, from a parent specific. I said last night, like, I hate when I have to talk about my story on here because I loved my dad. And my mom, and I feel like that they tried, but they both, were addicts too, and this and that. And so, like, sometimes when I have to tell stories, like, it makes them look in a very bad light, and I hate that, and I love them, but it's just, facts are facts, and whatever.
Right.
But my dad did. That's kind of what happened. Is he, he had always messed around, like, with pills and coke and stuff. But then us kids, we got on heroin, and so then he started selling heroin because he thought that if we got it from him, I don't know, somehow it was better, and we all lived there under his roof, and that's kind of, and I know that looks really bad, like, we all lived there, and he kind of like took care of us, like, with the drugs. And I know how that sounds to some people, but in his own way, like, he was
right. He was thinking that he was keeping you safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he literally genuinely thought that was the right thing to do. Like, because then when we would be sick or whatever, and then we would be like, oh, we're going to go out and, like, rob this house or whatever. And he would be like, oh, no, here, and just give us drugs. And he thought that was, like, helping us. And I can 100% see, like, in his way how he thought that, and how he really cared. Like, that wasn't him trying to destroy our life. That was him really trying to help us, and he didn't know how. Like, I'm not saying that it was the right answer, that was the right thing to do, but I'm just saying that he genuinely, I can see as a parent, like, how it would be hard to, what do you do? What do you do? You put them out on the streets? I mean, I guess some people do, and maybe that's, what works for them and their children. But my parents, like, they wanted to help us, and I don't know. That's how they thought to do it.
And and education is the key. There's so much stigma around the disease of addiction, and and it's easy for people to stand back and judge, and whether or not they think they're people a lot of times feel like that drug addiction is not their problem because they're not directly affected by it. They don't have a family member addicted to drugs.
Until they do, yeah.
They don't realize that their tax dollars are going toward funding programs and needle exchanges. People are like, oh my God, these clean needles, what are they thinking? Well, they're thinking that, your tax dollars are not going to have to fund Medicaid because of Hep C anymore, or, so education is the key to a lot of what needs to be brought out.
Absolutely. I did an episode a couple weeks ago about the science behind addiction and just what it does to our brain, and how, it literally rewires itself to think that the drug is the most important thing, and that, before our kids and our family. So, like, it's not our fault. I hate to cop out and say, like, oh, something wasn't our fault, but, like, it really wasn't. Our brain literally was telling us that this was the right thing to do, or that this was okay, and justifying it in different ways, and making us believe that it was okay. Like, that's what some people don't understand, is that, like, we're out here and we're doing these things, and, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, yeah, I'm a mother, like, I shouldn't be dragging my kid, this and that. But, like, then there's this other little voice back here that was like, oh, it's okay, for whatever reason it might have been that time, is okay. It was just, I was just getting it from my dad, so that was fine, like, we was using it at home. Like, there was all these ways that I used to justify the things that I did, and I truly believed that was right and okay. And now, looking back, saying it out loud, like, I know that it wasn't right, but at that time, that's what our brains tell us. Like,
and addiction starts with either it can be a conscious choice or unconscious. Like, you've got peer pressure. These kids get out here, and I know back in the day, I'm 64 years old. We drank a lot of beer. We just did. But went to the bootleggers, and so that probably was the beginning of my addiction. But I also know so many people that went in for, physical ailments or major surgeries that were back in the day, when all these doctors were, pushing the pain pills from Big Pharma and stuff, and that's how their addiction got started. And,
For sure.
It's addiction's addiction regardless, and,
Yeah. And there's, and that's the thing too, is that like addiction is so focused nowadays on drug addiction, but like there's other forms of addiction. And
absolutely.
Like I have an aunt that has never touched a drug or drink a day in her life, and she is addicted to the lottery. Like literally will go and stand at the store for hours and scratch. She won a bunch of money a couple of times. Like, but she's spent, and she just does it. She'll just go and stand there, like even when, if they're having struggling times and they don't have the money or whatever, like she'll just go and stand and like, and she doesn't have a problem. And because it's not a drug, like she, and she's an older woman, so she would never get help. But that is an addiction. Like she literally has an addiction to the lottery, the scratch off tickets, or whatever it may be. Like she will do it regardless if they can afford it. She will go and stand there for hours at a time, even if she has somewhere to be. Like I can remember, like as a younger kid, like she would come and pick us up a lot and stuff. She was like the oldest aunt, and she would always be late. Like you could never, if you had to be there at 7, you better tell her you had to be there at 5, because she would stand there and scratch lottery tickets way past time for you to be there, and then mosey on and get you like it was fine. Like I'm like, how do you not see this? Chances are what people need sometimes more than that, as long as they are trying. Absolutely. It's sometimes we don't get it. Yeah, we don't get it in second chances sometimes, or sometimes it's 10th chances or 30th chances. I don't know how many chances I had, depending on especially what you're talking about. Like, but in addiction, like it's really hard. And I talked a little bit yesterday about how it was especially hard for some people. Like I grew up in a household with 2 addict parents. Like even when I was trying to get clean and stuff, like it was really hard because I didn't have like the support. Like getting clean and being a productive member of society was like a goal that was instilled in me and my family. You know what I mean? So like they didn't care. It's not like they supported me or encouraged that at all. I had to completely like remove myself from that situation. Sometimes you do, because it's because because of that we deserve a good life. And when you're trying, sometimes you don't get it second time. Sometimes I didn't get it. Gosh knows how many chances it took me, but all it matters is if you get there, and if you mess up along the way, hey man, shit happens. Just stand up and keep trying. Like it's Phew, that's what I said last night too. I don't have another rebuild in me. Like it's not the relapse. If the drug didn't kill me, sure it would, because I could never rebuild everything again. It's so freaking hard to just.
That's what I say about myself. I just, I woke up one day, and was just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yep. That's how I said when I told my story. I'm taking peer support classes, and I told my story for the first time not too long ago, for the first time in a long time, not too long back. And I, that's kind of my realization is that I really didn't. I mean, I did like the STAR program a while, in like 2012, and then I relapsed after that. And then when I went to jail and I got clean, I just didn't. I just got out and I moved away, and I really didn't. I don't work no program for a long time. I didn't. Wasn't active in recovery or nothing for a while. I did start like mentally slipping, and I don't recommend that at all. But that's just kind of, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'd same exact thing. I just knew that I couldn't do that anymore. Like I said, some stuff happened with CPS and my kid, and it just, I was like, this is not the person that I want to be, and I just determined myself not to be it. But like I said, I wouldn't recommend that because I did eventually start mentally like spiraling without support and things like that. That's kind of actually like why I started the show, for like a creative outlet. But
and that's kind of always been, both my son's downfalls is, they were really robust in their recovery, at first, and they were going to meetings and they had sponsors and they were working the steps, and and then eventually I think they felt like, well, hey, I've got this, so they didn't, they weren't going to meetings as much, or they quit working the steps, or they weren't calling their sponsor, and eventually they just kind of fell back into that life, and so I feel like staying plugged into your recovery community is essential.
Absolutely, I do. Support and community is key. That's literally why I started the show, because I needed a community. And I did a video the other day, like thanking everybody that's been on my show, everybody that supported me and reached out, commented, liked anything. Like I'm really enjoying this. It is really being helpful. Like I said, like this is my creative outlet to share some of my story, to help people share their stories. Like I'm loving this. This has really been amazing and really been helpful mentally for me. Like it's what I needed, and hopefully it helps somebody else too.
I like to share a lot too. My son John had a sponsor once upon a time that is probably coming up on 40 years of sobriety, and still to this day never misses a meeting.
Yeah, you have to, you have to keep active, because in recovery and stuff, because like I said, I didn't, and I abstained from like drugs, and like I didn't use, but I also, like, I wasn't helping people, and that was getting to me. Like I really felt like I said on my episode last night, like I've committed so many crimes against people and society that I could never like directly make amends for, that in my heart I just feel like I have to do something, to pay back a little bit. And so
service work's very important.
Yeah, because I did damage things and people and stuff that I could never pay back, never make amends for, and people that I don't even know, and stuff like that. So it's me in my heart, what I feel like I need to do, and it's really important. It's made a big impact on my life and my recovery, just and recently. And I've been clean. I started my recovery journey in 2013. I relapsed in 2016 to like late 2017, maybe early 2018, and then I've been clean since then. So
congratulations.
Thank you. But like I said, the first, several years, I didn't really maintain anything. I just kind of went off and made a new life. I worked, I like poured myself into work, and I got married and had kids. But eventually, once all the excitement and stuff from that settled down a little bit, I start like spiraling mentally, because I wasn't sharing, I wasn't helping, I wasn't nothing. And I also like really kind of shut off from my past life. I didn't talk about it. I didn't, share any of my experiences or anything like that. And it was really started boiling in. So I'm really a big advocate now about jumping in and sharing your story and being active in the recovery community, catch a meeting, whatever, because it really does make a big difference.
Yes, it does.
I feel like I'm brand new in recovery again, like because I'm just now starting like to jump back in. Like I really feel like I'm just starting over. You said that did you say your daughter, you said you lost her 25 years ago. Did she also overdose, or did you say something?
She did not. She actually was killed in a car accident, but she was in active addiction at the time.
Oh,
Too. Yeah. That she actually was killed in a car wreck. There was four girls in the car with her, and she was the only fatality. And then her best friend was with her in the car, and she continued her active addiction up until about the last, actually probably about the last 5 years. And she's been clean since 2020, maybe a little bit before. She moved away from here. She went to treatment. She stayed in the town where she went to treatment, got jobs. She started building relationships back with her kids. She's got her kids back. She's come home now. She's living back in Moorhead, still working in recovery, still clean, still doing good.
Well, that's amazing to hear. And you said you have a degree in social work. You also work at Pathways. We have not talked about that at all. She has a really exciting job helping people more than the foundations. I'm really impressed with your just drive to help people, because more so than just the foundation that you started, where you help, people that really need it, that are really trying and really just starting on their journey. But more than that, you help people every single day at your job.
I do. And, you were saying a few minutes ago, I have to throw a plug in here for peer supports too, because let me tell you, they're a vital part of recovery. And I am blessed to work at Pathways because I have some of the most awesome coworkers, and they have talked me off the ledge many times. And they have supported me. They have combined probably with three of them, probably combined, 25 years or maybe more clean time in. And, they're just awesome people, and I can't say enough about peer support.
Thank you. That's amazing. I'm actively taking peer support classes to become certified here in Kentucky, and I'm really excited about it. It's really going well for me. What is your actual job duties at Pathways? Like, what do you do day to day?
Well, I'm considered a mental health addictions case manager. So, I have a few people that have dual diagnosis, mental health and addiction. Basically, we link them to resources. We help them, get Medicaid or insurance, SNAP benefits. Link them to community resources. A lot of my clients with mental health issues kind of also have maybe a secondary IDD diagnosis, which is developmental. So we link them to transportation. I will attend medical appointments with some of them a lot, because due to their anxiety or their lack of understanding of their, diagnosis or prognosis, I will attend their medical appointments with them. Make sure they have their medications that they need. Basically, kind of just what I do with the foundation. Whatever their need is kind of what we do.
That's just like your whole life is just helping people, whatever they need. That's amazing. I know you're busy because we had a little bit of trouble meeting it, which is completely fine. It all worked out in the end. But I just want to say, she is constantly on the move, constantly helping somebody. It was always something. You have the biggest heart. I know you said that your son had a big heart, and it's obvious where he got that from, because
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you are amazing. You do it, you get out there and you do it. And I know that, and you're in recovery yourself too. So on top of everything you do for everybody else, you do whatever you do for your own maintenance and your own self-care. Right. So, I mean, you are really just submerged in the recovery, and that's amazing. And the helping of others.
The last big project we took on, of course, I know this is statewide news, but for those that may not know, we had a double homicide here in town about 2 weeks ago. A young mother and her daughter, and she worked as the nurse at one of the recovery centers here in one of the treatment facilities here in Moorhead. Mm-hmm. So what we do is when we sell our T-shirts and things, we kind of we come up with designs and we sell them for whatever happens to be going on that month, mental health month or Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, that type of thing. And So domestic violence month happens to be this month as well. And so we were designing shirts for, had already started working on our designs for our domestic violence shirts. And, then this happened. And so the little girl that my son was dating when he passed away, she actually has her own company. And she partners with us and does our shirts for us at her cost. And she came up with the idea of doing a fundraiser, help with funeral expenses for the mother and the daughter. So we're kind of knee deep in, 150 shirts I'm trying to go through and bag up and deliver for this latest project, to help with, help cover their funeral expenses. So I didn't, I wasn't thinking in the back of my mind, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I would have sold 500 if we could have, to make the money to help that family. But, it's been a lot. So that's kind of occupied my time, biggest part of the week this week. So,
this week, see, you're busy.
Yeah. So tomorrow there's actually a walk. It was scheduled for last week, and the lady that is organizing the walk and the vigil came down with COVID. So, we'll be going to the, domestic violence walk tomorrow to honor them, to honor Kennedy and Kayla, and deliver shirts over there tomorrow for the people that I haven't been able to catch up with yet. So that's on the agenda for tomorrow. I'm on vacation from work next week, so I'm going to spend some time with my grandgirl.
I know you said that you had her, you guys are doing some trunk or treating. That's amazing. I'm glad.
Yeah, we did that last week too one day.
Kim,
we are going to set up foundation. We got invited to set up 2 trunk or treats, one at a local business here in town and one at another treatment facility here in town. So that's coming up for the month of October. We'll be doing those. And then we've got the Harvest Festival coming up here more at the end of the month. So we'll be set up 3 days there to peddle our shirts and give out our harm reduction products. We do that as well. I forgot to mention that. We give out harm reduction products too. We carry Narcan and test strips and condoms and different types of harm reduction things, and I would drive up and down Main Street throwing Narcan out the windows if they would let me.
Absolutely, guys, check out Kim's anything if you're in her area, anything where she's going to be set up at. Like I said, they have a Facebook page. I checked out earlier some really nice stuff on there. If Kim don't care, I'll link the Facebook page to this episode if anybody wants to check out anybody that wants to check out their merchandise. And like she said, everything that anybody buys or anything like that goes all the way towards helping all these people, everything that they do. So anybody that can.
We don't pay ourselves anything. Everything that we make, clear profit we make, goes straight back into the foundation.
Absolutely. They get no grants or nothing from any kind of government assistance or anything like that. They purely rely on the goodness of people like you guys. So anybody that can, please help them out. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know they're working in the field, guys. So that's why she's not on video. So she's she's so busy, and she took time out of her schedule to be with us today. So I really appreciate that. And if you have anything else that you want to share, Kim, now is your time. Go ahead. And if not, and when you're finished or whatever, and then we can wrap it up.
I just want to say again, I really appreciate, you inviting me to do this and telling my story and telling the story about my kids and and I always want to end with, I could always, always use your prayers, use your good thoughts, use your good vibes, whatever your higher power may be, throw up wood for us.
Absolutely. Well, Kim, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I'll let you get back to the field.
All right. I appreciate it.
Thank you
so very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody that's watching, thank you guys for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and say that everyone knows I'm in no way addiction or substance abuse professional in any way. I'm taking peer support classes, but I'm not certified yet. So nothing said here today should be taken as direct advice at all. The thank you guys. Thank everybody for watching. Anybody that has been supporting me. I made a video and I wanted to say it again today on this live. Thank everybody that has been supporting me in this journey. Anybody that's been a guest or that has watched, comment, liked my story at all. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you guys for being here today, and I'll see you guys later.
Run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging. Ran through everything in front of me, might smoke bed in heaven. Got a whole agenda.